started.
I think you're right about that one order. So hello Michael, how are you? I'm good. Busy, just cracking on.
And while the others out cold, subsequent choice, now I know I can't cope.
So yeah, so Borderline Toxic started in the thick of the pandemic. So I was in a project previously that sort of fell apart as we entered into the lockdown, and I wanted to keep writing because I was bored shitless and wanted to come out of the pandemic and lockdowns with something to show for it. So my boyfriend, who is a musician, introduced me to HENRIK, who he had worked with before, and he's like, yo, I think you guys have got a similar vibe, you like the same sort of music, why don't you try writing together? So we did, and HENRIK was based in Norway, I'm in London. We started writing remotely, went really well. Wrote a few songs remotely. I think we wrote Mr. Obscenity first. No, we wrote 24 first, which we've not released yet. We wrote Mr. Obscenity, and then HENRIK came over to London in September 2020. Pete, my boyfriend, and HENRIK and myself all got in the studio, and the product of that was we wrote Bloodsucking Beauty Queen. So that was a really successful first session. And then Pete and myself went out to Bali in December 2020, stayed there for 6 months, ended up working with amazing musicians out there. We had Jordan, a Venezuelan guitarist, and Farley, an Indonesian bass player. HENRIK and myself recorded Blow Your Mind separately, got the other musicians together in Bali and filmed the cover in a abandoned theme park in Indonesia. It was amazing. So the result of that was we came back to London with a sort of product to put out, and we wanted to put a cover out first just before we put out any original music, just as a sort of introduction to the band. So then when we came back from London and we had that, we put it out and it went quite well. We put an advert out to complete the lineup of the bands in London. So QUENTIN, ROELANDT, got back to us on the guitarist ads. We went to see him that night play, and I was like, yes, that's the fucking guy, that's the dude. So he joined straight away, and then HENRIK knew Jack anyway from working together previously, and he was interested, so we got him down to the studio, shredded the bass, like cool, sweet, done. So that was the lineup. The lineup came together really quickly, and I think it was helped by the fact that we already had music written, we had a studio, and we had a video that was already out doing its bit. So yeah, that's how it started. So the band is made up of myself. I obviously am a singer, and write lyrics and melody, but obviously collaborate with the boys on that as well. We've got HENRIK, who does all the production, composes a lot of the music, does all the mix and master, and he's also the drummer. Because he's in Norway, we've actually got to a point now where we've got 2 drummers. So my boyfriend Pete is also an amazing drummer. I don't know if you can see this. This is him. So when HENRIK can't make it over, oh, I'll get this back out. God, I'm so awkward. When HENRIK can't make it over, Pete's been stepping in on drums, and it's now got to the point where he's very heavily involved in the band as well. So he's involved in a lot of the writing, the production, and on the live drumming as well. So yeah, it's myself. We seem to have 2 drummers now, which is great. HENRIK and Pete, and QUENTIN on guitar, and Jack on bass. So that's the intro to the band.
Premeditate attack this second.
Yeah, so we're based in London. Me, Pete and Quentin are in London. Jack is just outside of London. Henrik's in Norway. He comes over quite frequently for writing, things like that. He's going to start trying to push the band a bit more in Norway as well, because there's an appetite for the type of music that we do out there. So I haven't grown up in London, you can probably tell from my accent. I grew up in Scotland and only moved down here 4 years ago. I've always had an interest in music and in singing. Growing up in Scotland, I just wasn't around it that much. When I came down to London, there's so much going on all the time. It's just easier to get involved. And obviously being with Pete, he sort of pushed me into that as well. I all kind of, you know, I thought I wanted to join a band. I didn't think that I could write music. It wasn't until I sent Pete a really angry text message when we were arguing one day, and it was like one of these essay type ones. And his response was, "You're a songwriter." And I was like, "No, I'm pissed off. I should stop trying to get out of this." And he was like, "No, you actually should start thinking about writing your own music." And obviously the lockdown, we had so much time that I was able to explore that, and Borderline Toxic was born. Yay! I do not play an instrument. I wish I could, but I do not have the patience to now learn one, so no. I have been involved in other bands previously. Part of the drive to set up my own band was a bit of frustration over lack of control when you're joining a project that's already going. Because it would get to a point where you would write stuff or get involved in a project, and then some people quit and then it all goes to shit. So I was like, I want to have a project where I've actually got control over it. So yeah, this is my baby. So the way that we write, so HENRIK, our drummer, before we got the full band lineup in lockdown, HENRIK already had a bunch of ideas. He's a multi-instrumentalist as well, so he already had various tracks without vocals or lyrics or anything like that. So what we did at the start is he sent me a load of tracks across. I'd pick the one that I had a vibe with, write the lyrics and the melody, record it in my studio in London, send it across to him, and we would work remotely on that. So HENRIK composes a lot of the music, produces it all, and mixes it all as well. A very talented Norwegian bastard. But now that we've got the band lineup and myself, Pete and Quentin are all in London, what we're starting to do a bit more now is we can get into the studio more frequently. So we're starting some ideas now, send them across to HENRIK. He adds the Viking touch, as we say. You know, sends it back, we'll make some edits our end. So yes, it's very collaborative. At the start, it did start off with HENRIK sending me ideas and me adding to it. Now we're all just pitching in, and a lot of the stuff that we try and do as much as possible in the studio together when logistics aren't an issue, but working remotely seems to work quite well for us as well. It's a funny one. I'd like to say sort of like heavy alt rock. I'd say that's more like sort of the riffs and stuff, because I like to keep the vocals quite commercial, especially the chorus and things. I want it to be big sing-along choruses that people remember and are catchy, but I like the music underneath it to be heavy. Like, for example, Mr. Obscenity, the riff is bam, it's quite like sort of groovy as well, but it's heavy. It's like kind of melts your face. But then the chorus goes into the Mr. Obscenity, the world's your enemy. So yeah, I like to sort of have that blend between quite heavy, but also you can sing to it and still have a bit of dance. in terms of influences, this will just be me answering this on my influence. So I would just be speaking about my own musical influences because the boys have their own influences. For me, my influences are Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, Korn, Hole. You know, we're seeing a bit of a trend between like funky rock, so sort of like funky bass lines, but like not overly heavy, quite heavy, but also just with that element of groove as well in it. So yeah, that's my influences. Certainly when I'm writing Borderline stuff, that's the influences that I draw upon.
Some of you ain't writing well, too conservative fashion. None of you ain't Giselle, can walk in a
Anyone that knows me will know that I am manically obsessed with the Talking Heads. Like obsessed with them. I cannot get enough of them. I love them. I love the weirdness. I love the funkiness. I love they breach so many boundaries in music. You know, they were behind new wave because you couldn't categorize them into a genre when they came out in the late 70s, I want to say. So that is my favourite band of all time. I love David Byrne to the point where it's a bit obsessive. I love his vibe, I love the lyrics, I love the music, I love his silly little dances. Yeah, they're my favourite bands. Yeah, so we are not signed, we're an independent band. We're doing it all on our own, from production to the visuals, the advertising, to everything. It's a lot. A label would come in handy, but it's a learning experience for me as well. I never knew until I started this project how much time and effort goes into all the different parts. You know, like writing music is probably about 15% of the work. So yeah, we're independent, doing it on our own. But thankfully I've built up a really good team around us. We work with an animator and an illustrator called Simon Mulligan, who animated our full Mr. Obscenity video, does all our visuals for us. I've started working with a marketing guy now, Mark. He's amazing as well. So I'm just sort of building a team together of good people that I trust. But yeah, a label would be handy. We don't have one though, so we're doing it on our own.
you had you on a transverse glance on the floor too. Don't believe I show you, take you with me.
Day job. I'm a financial advisor. My name, you probably guessed, isn't Kerry Glass, but I have had to change it so that my clients don't find me online. Not like there would ever be an issue or anything, but I just keep that part of my life separate. So on Zoom calls, this is my financial advisor side, this is my rock side. So yeah, finance is paying for the music videos. I don't know if it was brave to start a project in the pandemic. I had nothing else to do. When you're living in London, it's so fast paced. You've always got something going on every couple of days, and that was a period in time where everything just came to a standstill. So I had time to explore songwriting. I had time to, you know, set up a studio and get used to the equipment and practice recording myself and things like that. So it felt like I can't sit still, I can't watch TV, I can't relax. So it felt like the right time for me to do something like this. So yeah, definitely, it definitely influenced my creativity. The pandemic helped my creativity. I'm not sure if I would have done this if the pandemic didn't happen. I'm not sure if I would have had time. So yeah, that was a positive of that weird thing we lived through. We only started gigging, our first gig was at the Dublin Castle in Camden, rite of passage for any new bands, in November 2021. I've since played a lot of the sort of rite of passage venues in Camden, around about the London scene. There's not a huge rock scene in London, which I was quite surprised by. So I'd like to get up north, Manchester, Liverpool, things like that, and ideally to Germany, because there's such a big appetite for the music that we do out there. So hopefully that's on the cards soon. I'm pushing for that at the moment. But yeah, our priority at the moment has just been building up the live set, getting that tight. Now that we've got all that filmed, we're going to start dripping out all of our live footage and start booking in gigs outside of London. HENRIK is still based out in Norway, so he's going to start pushing it out in Norway as well. So hopefully we'll get some, what was I saying? Yeah, so, yeah. Why am I so awkward? So I was quite nervous when we started gigging and putting out our own music, because it's not like just doing, I was used to just doing covers and stuff before, and you usually get a good reaction because people know the songs. So when you first start gigging your own music, you're a bit like, it's a bit nerve-wracking. But after the first gig, it was a bit ropey in points because it was our first gig together, but since then the gigs have just got better and better. More and more people come down. It's becoming more natural to me as well, even just like speaking in between and just being myself on stage as opposed to pretending to be someone else. It's quite liberating. I forgot what the question was. We've had a huge amount of support from our friends and stuff that started to come down to gigs. But now people are starting to hear about us outside of our friendship circles and coming down supporting us, so that's amazing. Yeah, it doesn't go unnoticed, and we're just going to keep pushing it. Just keep pushing and pushing, and we'll just see what happens.
Dissipate, the way to separate, erase, sort of an upper ego, hate, obliterate together, negotiate the living, say, divide, populate, say, get up! Beat it up, bitch, just to let so hung, fade another better, you're
Yeah, so, I feel like there's better representation of women now than what there was, but there's still a long way to go. It's encouraging to see that there's more female fronted bands, there's more women making music and the production of music, and not just in your stereotypical pop scene, but on some of the heaviest, hardest fucking gut-wrenching rock. So that's good. There's also a lot more women in the industry as well, and quite high up. It's still a long way to go. I think my biggest concern, and the thing that bothers me the most, is there still seems to be that expiry date on women. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked how old I am. Don't know the relevance. Obviously Botox isn't working quite hard enough. So while it doesn't seem to be a restriction on the age of men fronting bands, you can see men going right into their late 70s. You don't see many women, or it's not that you don't see many women. I can just, as you can just feel that sort of pressure of people like, she's not in her 20s, or, although in saying that, Debbie Harry is still going strong. Come on, Blondie. So yeah. If we could just fuck all that off and not give a fuck what age people are when they make music or when we front it, that'd be great. Thanks. So yeah, come on, the old birds. Ooh. Highlight of my musical career, I think it's still to come. I think for me, as I said previously, like, my biggest concern was putting out my own music in the first place and doing gigs, because I'd never done it before. And it's been, and especially more like, I think I was more nervous about putting it, what people back home would have thought, because my life was so different up in Scotland and now it's completely changed. But I have to say, like, I've had so much support, and people being like, fucking hell, you've kind of changed the path of your life and stuff, and it's been really, it's been nice. It's given me a boost of confidence. The biggest highlight since we've put out our stuff would be the live gigs, I think. Realising it's not as scary as what I thought it was going to be, doing your own music. And also 2 of our songs getting picked up and played by BBC Introducing. That was really exciting. The latest one, Bloodsucking Beauty Queen, got picked up as one to watch, or band to watch, and played on BBC, so that was exciting. That sort of gave us a bit of an ego boost, or confidence boost, shall I say. But yeah, I think the highlights are still to come. Musically, I think I'm most proud of Mr. Obscenity, the first original song we put out. Musically, just because it's heavy as shit, so that riff is amazing. It just starts off with that boom, you're like, oh fuck. That's my favourite. And also lyrically, so that song is about misogyny, misogynistic pricks in power. So for our first single, you know, you always get told to keep it commercial, like ease in, don't go too controversial straight away. But fuck it. So when I was writing the lyrics to this, I was watching the Epstein documentary at the time. So the lyrics are quite heavy when you read into it. The first verse is all about Donald Trump and his fucking agenda, pushing the racial wars, and also the way that he has treated women in the past as if they're pieces of fucking meat. And then the second verse is aimed more at Epstein, so I'd encourage you to look at the lyrics and see what connections you can make. But that's the one I'm most proud of musically. The one I prefer performing live, the one that I most enjoy performing live is Bloodsucking Beauty Queen. Just 'cause everyone's well up for it. Everyone wants to sing, I'm sexy. It's a feel-good song for anyone, I think. I also like singing it in my accent because I feel like Fat Bastard in Austin Powers. I'm sexy. In my free time, if I'm not out seeing my mates, a lot of the time it's music. You know, I'm either in the studio writing or with my bands, chatting shit. Making music, coming up with ideas, you know, that's what I enjoy doing, so that's what I spend my free time doing now. Yeah. I'm also really enjoying being back in London now that the world's opened up and everything seems back to normal. So it's nice just going out and seeing different venues and what sort of survived, what's new, what's going on. So yeah, no, I don't really have any other hobbies. Obviously Talking Heads, Speaking in Tongues. There's a song on there called Moonrocks. I don't think it was ever released as a single. But if you're ever pissed off or in a bad mood or feeling negative in any form, then I encourage you to listen to Moonrocks by Talking Heads on the Speaking in Tongues album. And I dare you to still be in a bad mood. I dare you to still be in a bad mood after listening to it because it's just so fun. So yeah, probably take that with me. Then shit wouldn't feel so bad. Even if my Scottish skin is falling off in the desert heat, at least I can have a little vibe. pretty much got a full album of songs written now. We're going to just keep dripping them out as singles just to keep building up that momentum. We'll probably end up putting the full album out early next year. But yeah, the priority at the moment is to keep pushing the live gigs and keep writing more and more. Henrik's going to start trying to get his gigs out in Norway. I want to branch out of London, get his gigs up north in the UK and out towards Germany. As we had discussed, Michael. Just to places where there's a bigger rock scene and more appetite for the music that we make. So that is the plan just now. I'm just going with the flow. We'll see what happens. Keep positive, keep enjoying it, and good shit will happen. Oh, no, thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for your support so far. You were one of the first people to pick up our video on YouTube and really run with it. And your support today has been huge. So thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you in the flesh one day when we are gigging around Germany.